So this is the knitting chart to knit the word Titanic into the knitting. And oh, I've got my yarn here. It's a bit of a mess. So that's the first part of the tea cozy, the bottom bit, and that's the start of the plinth. This is the black. Now it's better to pull some of the yarn off so you don't have to tug at the ball, because it'll affect the tension, and if you're knitting in colour it already affects the tension. So this it's a lot of ends. Now that's that, and here's my white yarn. Oh, I had the ends somewhere. Oh, there's one. Where's the other one? Who knows? There it is. So there might be too much white taken off the ball, but the ball has kind of started dropping to bits. You know how they do. So anyway, we're going to work with it. So this is my white yarn, and I've got to start on the next row putting in these 4 rows. So I'm just going to tie it. I can secure it properly later, and that's that. So the white's added, ready to go. Right now the word Titanic has got to fit onto there like that. So as you're reading the row, you're reading this way. But this is the knit row. Odd goes that way, even is that way, because that'll be a purl row. So here we go. So it starts off to knit 2 in black, easy, knit 2 in black. There we go. And then I've got to knit 2 with the white yarn. So I'm going to knit 2 with white, but I don't want to leave floaters all along the back because they catch on things. Floaters are like, I'll just show you what a floater looks like. Right, so that's what a floater looks like. It's a loop at the back, and you know, every time you do a few stitches together you'll end up with a floater like this, and it just catches on things, and I don't like it. So I never have floaters at the back. I weave the carried yarn in as I'm working, so I'll show you how to do that. So you go in as though you're going to knit. This is my black yarn, and I hold it over there out the way. Now if you look, this yarn that I'm working with is going under my black yarn, so when I knit it's caught it at the back and held it into place. And now I've got to do 2 whites, so I'll swap the white one up there, holding it out the way, and then I'll knit 1 in black, and it's caught the yarn because the yarn was under it, but now I want the yarn to go over it, so I pop it in there, and look, the yarn will cross again and it goes round. I'm not putting the white in the work, look, it's just catching it in, and it's caught it at the back, so it's neat and it holds it all in. So I've done the 2 black there, and now I've got to do 1 white on its own. Now if you've only got 1 stitch on its own, what you can actually do is keep the white's going to be the working yarn, and you can go in and pluck it like that, because it's just quicker. Now I've got to do a black stitch, and now it's white again, so I'll just pluck it. Now I've got to do 2 stitches, and this 1 black, and then I've got to catch that. See, the first stitch it didn't matter because it was just there, that's fine, but this one I need to catch that white yarn in, and if I just do a stitch now I'll end up with a floater. Look, it's not caught it. So you have to kind of, is weaving because it goes under and over the working yarn. And had I got more stitches on a run to show you, I could, you know, perhaps show you better the under-over technique. You know, it would be a better example of the under-over. But unfortunately, I've only got two. I've got three, couple of threes, and that's about it. But anyway, look, this is going to go over the white and complete the stitch. Hold the white out of the way because I don't want the white showing at the front. And there's that. So here I've got the bottom of the C, the I, and the first leg of the N. And now I've got to do the next leg of the N, which will be a plucked stitch. So just pluck that one. Then work another stitch. Then I've got the two legs of the A. So one, and then the black, and then pluck it again. Those pluck ones are really quick and easy, aren't they? Look, brilliant. And then I've got to do 2 stitches in black. Now look, because it's not caught in yet, so I've put it in the middle there, ready to, so this one goes over and catches that first stitch in. And then the next one, look, it'll cross it anyway. See? Crosses over and holds it in. And now there's the first T, so we'll pluck that stitch. Then I've got to do 2 again, weave in that yarn in at the back. 1, 2, and then I pluck 1, 2 again, 1, 2, and pluck 1. You know, you can leave the floaters at the back if you like. Right, so I'm at the end now, so I'm going to just leave the white yarn there because that's where it needs to be on the next row back. You do have to kind of check, you know, where it is. This one I will have to make an allowance because it's not going to finish here, it'll finish on this stitch, so I'll need to bring that yarn over. I'll show you that in a moment. But you do have to kind of read ahead. Right, so that's the first row. Complete. Right, the next row, so we're starting here and working our way back. So row 2 is all done in pearls. And the carrying the yarn is a bit different with pearls. So pearl 3. Now this last stitch, you know, it's a bit tricky at the moment. It's dependent on the needle to keep the right size for that stitch. As soon as it comes off, if you pull this too tight, that stitch will be turned to, I don't know, half its size perhaps. It'll be minuscule and you won't be able to see it, and the tension will look wrong on the front of the work. So what we do is, if we twist here, it helps to keep the tension, because now that stitch won't, look, even if I pull this, it's not affecting that stitch anymore, and it holds it tight and stops holes forming. So we purl that one, and now I want that one out the way because I've got to knit 2. So that was 1 stitch and it's not caught that white yarn in, but the next one has, look, I've caught that white yarn in. And then that will be the eye. And now I'm back to the black for the space in between. And now the next T. And the yarn's there ready. And it's all neatly, look, it's all trapped in together. There's no floaters, no loops to catch on anything else. Here, oh, we're coming up for the A. There's 2 stitches, I need to put that there, so I cross it. And now the A. So there's 1. Oh, it's 3 on the A, because we're on row 2, look. So the black needs to stay up, so I can trap it in. See? So that's trapped, that's the A. And now we're on to the N, which is 1 white, then 1 black, and then 2 white. 1, 2. And then they are the same as below. Oh, the C isn't, is it? So there's 1, and then the I, and then 1 more black one, and then it's the backbone of that C. And my yarn's getting very knotty. So what you can do here to alleviate the knottiness is I want to use the white, but look, you see that twist, and I'm forcing it up to the top. So when I knit with that, it's took some of the mess out of the bottom bit down here, and you can do that again. It's it does help with the knots in your yarn. Look, my knots are all undone now, look. So it helps with the knots in the yarn, but also, you know, when you twist the yarns together, it stops holes forming. So it's not a bad thing, but I doubt you would get holes from this anyway, because there's not big gaps. Right, so that's row 2 done. And you can just see the A starting to form. I love it when you can start to see the things forming. It just looks fab, doesn't it? It comes together like magic. Right, so now I'm on row 3, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 black before I get to the white. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm going to put my white on my finger again for a bit of plucking. So I pluck that one, that's the back of the C. And 1 black, 1 white, pluck it again, that's the I. Pluck again, and now I'm plucking for the N. And there's 1 black one, now there's 2 white ones, so I need to catch this in. The white is starting to be naughty. So knit 1 and then bring that black over the top so that white one catches it in. That's it. And now I'm going to put the yarns back so this one's ready for plucking and that one's there for doing all the work. So the A. So I do one of those and I'm plucking. That's the centre hole in the A, and that plucks the other side of the A. Now 2 black stitches, weaving the white in. Look, I'm going to put that in there, weave it in. That's it. And now pluck in the T. And this is the space between. Pluck the I. And the space, weave that in. Look, I'm just catching that under there and plucking this. Now, this is the row where when I come back, this stitch needs to be white. So I want to take the white across, ready to catch that one in. So it's just the same as, you know, when you're catching them in. So you come along, that's not caught there, look, but the next one I do has caught that white. Now that white will be ready to come back for this stitch. See? It's right where I need that yarn to be. I finish this row. That's it. Let's have a little look, see how it's looking. I can see the A, and there's the N coming in, and the C. If you don't like how some of the stitches look, you can fiddle with them. Look, that stitch doesn't look very neat there, but give it a tug. There, and it looks better. That's it. Right, last row, here we go. Right, so there's 2 pearls, and then we start with the white. So I'll move the black out the way, and I do 1, and then I'm going to come, and I'm going to go under there, so I catch the black 2, and now the blacks, I'm not going to catch that if I pearl there, so I need to move it to the other side of the needle, and now it'll catch in there, and now 1 black, 1 white, and now I'm back on 3 white for the top of the other T. So I'm here now. 1, 1, and then I'm going to catch that yarn in, 2, oh, I'm telling you wrong. Oh, let me just undo this a minute. I've got to have a break here anyway. Right, okay. So I've just done the eye, and I need 1 black for the space. And now I'm here now, so I've got 3 whites for the top of the next T. So I move the black out of the way and do the first stitch, 1. Then I come in and come under, and the black yarn's on this side and the white will trap it in, 2. But now the black's on the wrong side, it won't trap in there. Look, it won't trap that. So I need to put the black on that side of the needle, and then it traps it in again. So that's my 3 whites. And now I've got 2 blacks. 1, 2 blacks. My knitting needles keep banging on the table. I don't usually knit in this position. 1 white and 2 blacks again. 1, 2, and I'm catching the white in. And this is the top of my N. 1 white out the way. 1, 2 blacks, and then a white. That's the N complete. Now 1, that's the last eye, and there's 2 blacks. 1, but look, that'll be in the wrong place, so I need to carry that over because I've got these 2 whites after this one here, so I'm moving the yarn so it'll be queued up ready for those last 2 white stitches. 1, move the yarn, 2, all trapped in, and then finish the row. Good. And there is the word Titanic. I'm going to do 1 more plain black row so it gets off the needle so you can see it. But also I want to show you, you know, I was saying about the only thing that's keeping the stitch formed there was the knitting needle. We've got that scenario again now. This stitch, the only thing that's keeping it correct, look, it's just loose. The only thing that's keeping it correct is this knitting needle. So pull it round the knitting needle so it's as it would be, and then twist this yarn just a couple of times. That's it, that's enough. Now that stitch can't move, so it'll keep its tension. Right, this is another top hack. If you don't want to have to sew all the ends in, you can weave them in as I was weaving before, and it will hold in and you won't have to sew it. So look, this is that Can you see it's weaving in? Right, so now I can cut that yarn and I won't have to sew it in and it won't come undone. Brilliant. And that's much better than having to, you know, when you have all those ends at the back and you have to sew them in. And it depends how many, you know, different yarns you've had to add, or I haven't got any scissors with me at the moment. If you've got lots of different colour changes, you'll have lots and lots of ends, and it just seems to take forever. And because all those little bits of yarn that you have to cut off as well, and they end up in the bin. So, but with this, you know, I've already sewn it in, so I can cut that quite close and it'll be fine. Less wastage. So I'm just getting to the end of my row. Right. And there it is, Titanic, written in. And so what have I done? I've just done 5 rows there, because I did the black one as well. But, you know, I know it looks daunting when you first start, and if you've never done it before, it does look daunting. And if you have tried before and found it really difficult, you know, you're probably thinking, oh, I don't want to do that again. But, you know, everybody feels like that to start off with. It is daunting because it's something quite tricky. But the more you do it, the easier it gets, you know. And I've tried to tell you the tips that I use to do it, to make it easier. So, you know, maybe if you can keep some of those in mind as you're knitting your little Titanic word, maybe they'll help, you know, and you'll find it an easier experience than previously. But, you know, don't let it hold you back. Do have a go. And if you want to make the Titanic tea cozy but don't want to do this technique, you can always just knit it in black and then Swiss darn over the top. Or you could use chain stitch to write the letters on. Or you could just leave it black. But there are other ideas, so it's up to you. I'll leave that with you.